Welcome to the Phoenix Unscripted. This is a sacred space between seasons. Here you'll get unplanned, unpolished reflections from my real life. We aren't teaching or fixing anything here, just sitting with truth and being with our hearts and our bodies together. So settle in, take a breath as we sit beside the fire and reflect. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. It is very echoey. I'm in a different place. I don't know if you can notice. I'm upstairs in my office right now because this is where everything was set up. I had uh, just done a in bulk celebration with uh, some wonderful people, some new friends and some old friends that we had online, and we got to do an amazing ceremony and just lean into a little bit of play and hold the hold the space for each other as we're navigating this in between. And so I'm up here in my office. You're sitting on my desk right now. This is where I work. So the sound is a little bit different. It's I live in a log cabin, y'all. And this is a very big room with not a whole lot of soft things. I'm working on it though. I'm working on it. So the reason why I'm on here and not in my full regalia and sitting here in the not optimized space, right? Not showing up in perfection at 7:08 in the morning is because I had quite a epiphany this morning as I was waking up. I woke up at 3 this morning with my partner. He is a he's a trucker. He hauls liquid propane for the rural area, here in the Midwest. And so he's usually up very early. And I got up with him this morning unintentionally. I didn't want to wake up, but I guess spirit knew what was up. My soul knew what was up. There was something that was niggling under the surface that really needed to come up. And it's funny because as I kind of look back at some things that I had been noticing over the last week, I see the threads. Do you ever do that? Like when something is kind of coming up in you and then all of a sudden it comes to the surface and you realize, oh shit, this has been on my mind subconsciously, my subconscious mind, and now it's up in my conscious mind. And I'm like, oh, my soul has been dropping hints and laying the groundwork for me to have this insight this morning. If you ever experienced that before, I don't know. It's an interesting feeling, and apparently today was the day. Today was the day that it needed to come up to the surface. So since it was up so early, I decided to go ahead and do a meditation. Typically I meditate in the morning. I get up about 45 minutes before Asen does, and I give myself space to meditate and to kind of tune in and get myself ready for the day. So that way, when she wakes up, I can be fully present for her and be fully awake for her. And usually I go on Insight Timer and I do a meditation. And today I wasn't feeling it. There was something leading me, right? And I was just following the little breadcrumbs, my little sleepy brain at 3:45 in the morning. And I had just recently got into Rebecca Campbell's membership called The Sanctuary. I've been in and out of it a couple of times over the last few years, and I just recently got back in. And I felt like I wanted to be led by that energy today. Rebecca brings such a beautiful space to her containers, and I was feeling like there was something there for me in the sanctuary. And so I was scrolling through the meditations. I found the one called um, "A Child Within," and I've done this meditation before, and it's a rather simple meditation to help you reconnect with a version of you from when you were, a child. And it could be, something of you when you were a baby. It could be something of you when you were, different stages or even a teenager or, a young person. And today, my 12-year-old self came through, like my kind of like middle school, seventh grade, eighth grade version of me came through. And she, she was feeling something. She was feeling something. She was feeling the she was feeling the changes in her body and how that was impacting the relationship with her dad's. And that was really big when I realized, as I'm tuning in and just like sitting with her and these words and these feelings are coming up, I realized that she was feeling really abandoned by the masculine. She was feeling abandoned by her dad and her stepdad. And then she was also feeling abandoned by God. This is a this abandonment wound, the abandonment of the masculine, right? Not new territory for me. I have been exploring that wound for quite some time, several years. If you know anything about my story, the big cataclysm, my big spiritual awakening, my Phoenix awakening was spurred on by my ex-husband going to jail and me becoming a single mom. And so you want to talk about like being and feeling abandoned by the masculine, like my life partner, my husband, my sole supporter. I was a stay-at-home mom, just you know left. And so that wound, right? I knew that that wound is something that's very there. And so this is nothing new. And quite frankly, I've done this meditation before and I have seen this version of me before. I have eg- explored that abandonment feeling from my father in various points of my life. And so I'm well aware that I had a big challenge with how the relationship changed with my dad's when my body changed. Because my body changed so quickly, um, it was very stark, right? There was, like, before puberty, how, my dads were pretty, pretty affectionate, lots of hugs and, we would spend time together and play and all those kinds of things, and then after I went through puberty when I was 12, that all stopped. Or it was very rare, or it just was different. I could always tell that they were uncomfortable around me. And that created this sense of like something was wrong with me, that I had done something wrong. But today I reached another layer, and that layer was the God abandonment. I felt abandoned by God because of the version of God that I grew up with, which was a very like hellfire and brimstone God, a very judgmental God, a God that says everything is a sin, basically, that all things of the flesh are a sin, sex is a sin, um, you know, and really some undertones about women's bodies. And I think I knew that my body changing meant that my sexual energy was waking up. I could feel it. Maybe I didn't have words for it at that point, right? I was 12. So, but something was changing. And it was almost like that awareness that came with me realizing that my sexual energy was waking up was almost like, oh, God doesn't like sex. God thinks sex is a sin. And so if my body is waking up that kind of energy and showing signs of it, then that must mean that I'm bad, that I'm a sin, that I'm wrong. Because my body, it was like, I'm not sure if it was a full capacity awareness at that point, but I knew that society looked at women's bodies from a sexual way. Like that boobs and having a butt and the shapy figure. Like I knew, I think we all know because of what we're exposed to and the way advertising works, movies and TV and we know that subconsciously that women's bodies are used in a sexual way to sell things and that when girls become women and we go from, not having anything to all of a sudden having boobs, that the men treat us differently. And because I grew up with such a skewed version of God that said that sex was bad and then, like A plus B equals C here. If God thinks sex is bad and my body in the way she just changed represents sex, that must mean I'm bad and that God and me can't be close together. And so I felt this abandonment. I felt abandoned by not only my physical father, but my father, my father in heaven, like my God, that I had grown up with and believed in deeply and felt comforted by the things that I felt inside of me when I prayed. And I think that was the start of the end of my relationship with God because there was a long time that I didn't have a relationship with him. And today, apparently, that one had come to light. It's really fascinating as I was kind of communicating with her and tapping into those emotions that she was feeling. She was feeling shock. She was shocked about her body changing. She was shocked. She had just had the experience of bra shopping, which was very traumatic. I remember it was very traumatic for me. We had gone on vacation between seventh and eighth grade, and I left on vacation wearing an A cup, and we literally had to stop at the freaking department store on our way back because my bra was hurting me so bad. And I ended up getting a new bra, and I was in a C cup. So in 2 weeks, I went 2 cup sizes in 2 weeks. And it was like, I remember crying in the fitting room because I was like, oh my God, it was so overwhelming for me. My body changed so fast. And so there was, like a feeling of shock. There was also this feeling of hang on, I wrote it down. I have my notes here because I got to journal. It's cool. Rebecca has all these journal prompts and things like that she has with her things that she releases inside the sanctuary. So it's really, really good. Um, but she felt sadness and anger and longing, and it was very confusing. Um, she noticed her dad's pulling away. She even feels that the God of her youth was pulling away. And I didn't quite understand it even when I was first writing it. I said, because sex is bad, but it's not even sex. It's translated as her body, her changing body is bad. Wow. How many of us experience this and don't even realize it? Experience this wounding from the masculine, and then we internalize it, and then we end up reliving that abandonment wound our whole life. We end up feeling disappointed or distant from the masculine. We end up feeling disconnected from God because we feel like we're not worthy of his love because of how our bodies are viewed, because of the over sexualization of our physical features, and men, I mean, men have their own abandonment challenges, right? I'm not a man. I can't say what their experiences are in terms of abandonment from God or abandonment from their dads or their moms or whatever. Like, I want them to talk about their experiences too. But for me, and maybe for you, if you're a woman and you went through puberty and you maybe had that disconnection from your dad, um, I I bring this as an awareness point, as a reflection of a wound that might be having vast implications in the rest of our lives. I don't blame my dads for their actions. Like, as in, I'm not saying that it's your fault you abandoned me and now I'm scarred. Like, that's please. Like, that is not helpful to my healing, and honestly, that just creates negative energy towards them, and, like, they I feel like so many fathers grow up in a very strange place. They grow up not having affectionate fathers themselves. They grow up not knowing what to do with their sexual energy, and so when they have daughters and they're little girls, right? Their little girls are little, and they are precious, and then they grow up, and then they start to turn into young women, and then they don't know what to do with that. This is like a symptom of of patriarchy here, right? So it's not men's fault. It's a system that has created space where sexual energy is considered taboo. It's considered wrong for you to feel sexual feelings. And then you don't know what to do with them or how to, channel that energy. And then we also have so we have like these like polarities of like, looking at women as the virgin and the whore. It's like that sharp contrast instead of just seeing us as people. And so I understand why they pulled away. Like, I can understand that. I can see that because they didn't wanna be inappropriate. They didn't want to, um, they probably did feel awkward. I was the oldest daughter, so this was the first time they had ever navigated having a girl turn into a woman in their that was theirs, rather than, the sisters they grew up with or the, friends that they grew up with, all together. Like, this was the first time. So maybe for me, that was the sharpest, right? Like, y'all, I'm the oldest of 9, and 6 of my siblings are girls, okay? So they got really good at it, at least, or at least they, maybe the shock value wasn't quite as much when they got to my younger sisters. But I feel like they still struggled. I've had a lot of conversations with my siblings, and I think we all kind of struggled a little bit with how we received affection from our families, from our dads. What's interesting is how this wound shows up in my life. It's like this constant fear of being abandoned by the masculine, being abandoned by the men in my life, and then also feeling a disconnection from the divine masculine. I've spent many years connecting with the divine feminine. I feel like that energy has been so much more supportive for me, And now I kind of get it. I kind of get why I've been taking a almost solely feminine path in my divine journey, like my spiritual journey in the last 20 years. Because I felt like the male God that I grew up with fucking left me because that viewpoint, right? That context was that my becoming a woman meant that sex was gonna be involved in my life, that I in order for me to have a baby, like, you have to have sex. In order for me to, express myself, like, there's a sexual expression there because I believe that sexual energy is creative energy, and so even my creations that I make are from that energy. I strongly believe that sexual energy is life energy, it's love energy, it's connection energy, and it's just expressed in different ways, but when it gets all lumped into the same space and then deemed as bad, and there's this like entity, the God, right? The male God that says that's bad, and that means I'm bad. Well, why do I want to have a relationship with that? I don't. So, how many of us are walking around feeling disconnected from half of divinity because of the wounding that we experienced from our dads, from the gods that the version of God that we grew up with, and in the patriarchal society, which, you know, continually abandons us as women and as mothers and as young girls and children. Like, yeah, no wonder we're fucking walking around feeling pissed, right? Like all of those feelings that I talked about that 12-year-old who was experiencing, that version of Corey that was 12 was feeling shock, feeling sadness, feeling anger, feeling longing. No wonder we're walking around feeling all of these feelings. I realize in my life personally, I've got some work to do to heal my relationship with the divine masculine. Not just like the male god, right? Like I've stepped way beyond that version of God, okay? Um, but even the divine fast, excuse me, even the divine masculine within me, I've leaned so hard into the divine feminine that the divine masculine maybe is feeling also a little abandoned inside of me. That the part of me that wants and longs for that kind of relationship is feeling unseen. I think it's really important that we resurrect the relationship with the divine feminine. I also think it's important for us to heal the relationship that we have with the divine masculine as well. I think maybe what's kind of been uncovered for me over the last week and then kind of culminating today was this realization that that relationship is wanting some attention. That relationship with that part of me, to heal the relationship with the masculine within me, and to use the knowledge and the compassion and curiosity that I've gained through exploring a divine feminine path to also apply that to a divine masculine as well. Not abandoning my cycles or the rhythms or anything, like, no, it's like incorporating them, like including them, and not being so exclusionary in my practice. Think that 12-year-old me is very wise to show up today. She had said some things that she wanted to be witnessed. That was really what she wanted. She wanted to be accepted for the changes that she was going through. She wanted to be seen for the creations that were coming through her. And she still needed hugs. And she said that. She's like, I still need hugs and I still want your love. What about your young girl, your young woman? Have you ever spent time with her? Have you asked her what she's feeling? Have you ever navigated what that time had been for you? This has been one of the biggest parts of my cyclical healing journey is like going back to that time when I started when I started my period, when I went through menarche and what changed at that time. How my relationship with my mom changed, what we were going through from a life circumstance. We had really, really big changes in my house. We had a lot of loss. My mom lost her entire uh, family in a year around that time. Her mom and her brother died in the same year, and her dad, my mom also had been, you know, well, my family was going through a lot, and I was going through a lot. And then experiencing the changes that I had with my relationship with the divine and the relationship with my physical dads. I mean, all of that. Like, have you ever looked at that time to see what that was like for you? If you've never done any sort of parts work or inner child work, I cannot recommend it enough. It has been instrumental in me to be able to see some things that need some love and witnessing and reincorporation back into my life as a grown up. I think that, my daughter going through the time that she is right now, where she's in that portal, in that window. And I think witnessing her and her interaction with her stepdad and like seeing how beautiful their relationship is and getting to witness her being supported in a very loving and compassionate way has been, I think it's really been bringing a lot of awareness for me, but it's also been very healing for me. It's been also triggering for me because there's this part that says that, you know, wishes that I had had that kind of support and love when I was that age. And so I'm sad, right? I'm sad that I didn't get that. I'm sad that, you know, I'm sad that my dads didn't do the work back then. And also, I'm grateful that Asen gets that support now. And so, yeah, and Asen's not going to be having to navigate through the, God abandoned me wound, because she wasn't raised with that concept. I mean, she knows that the divine loves her unconditionally and has no, you know, she's not going to grow up with any weird things about sex or her body or anything like that because I made sure that that wasn't the home we were raising her in. She's gonna have her own things, but I guess my point is that healing is a spiral, and there are gonna be things that come up in your life that you thought you had navigated through, you thought that you had healed, and they're gonna come back around, and I invite you to look at it again. I thought I had done a lot of work around this particular wound, right? The abandonment wound from my dad's when I was going through puberty. Okay. Like I've journaled a lot on that. And I thought that I had worked through some stuff and I did. But healing it's a spiral. You always come back to a place like I'm gonna draw it for you. If you're on YouTube, you get to watch. If you're not on YouTube, then come watch me on YouTube. But when you have a spiral, right? You have a wounding. See if I can do this here. So, if you experience a wound here, you live your life and it kind of spirals out. And there are times when you come back to that wounding again. You're not back here, right? You're not at the original event. You're out just a little bit further. It's still like that wound, you still have like echoes of it, but you've lived a little, you've had a little experience. And so you navigate through and you heal what you can at that point. And then you keep living your life. And then you go through different experiences and you keep growing and you keep expanding out. And then look, you come back to that wounding again. But again, you're different now. You're a different person. You've had different experiences and you're still looking at that. And this doesn't mean that when you come back to those points again, it doesn't mean that you're failing your healing journey. As a matter of fact, I think this is just how it is. I think this is how it goes. I think it's healing is cyclical. It is spiraling. It moves. It's dynamic. It is not linear. It is not straight like, oh, I healed and now I'm healed. Right? That is not how bodies work. That's not how hearts work. That's not how minds work. We are continuously learning and rediscovering things about ourselves. And as new experiences happen, they bring awareness and oftentimes they bring things up to the surface that we are ready to see. So you're, if you feel like you've experienced a lot of betrayal and abandonment from the masculine in your life, maybe it was from a lover, a partner, a spouse, maybe it was from a dad, maybe it was from a stranger. There's a lot of ways that that abandonment and that betrayal comes up. Maybe it was from a coworker, maybe it was from a boss, maybe it was from a friend. But if you keep seeing this kind of pattern of masculine abandonment in your life and you keep reliving that wounding, I wonder what would happen if you got curious about that wound. Where did it start? How did it show up early in your life and how does that continue to play a part and what is your role in that? Are you continuing to play the victim role in that? Is it perpetuating feelings of anger, of longing, people pleasing, of maybe compromising your boundaries because you think that that's going to help you get on their good side or give you the love that you keep looking for? I ask these questions because these are questions I have had to navigate. These are questions I continue to ask myself. As a person who has made many mistakes and a person that has been in situations where that story that the masculine is unsafe, that the masculine is abandoning you, keeps showing up, right? I believe that when we start to take responsibility for the things that are happening in our life, doesn't mean that we're blaming ourselves, but it means taking an honest look at the role that we play, whether we are trying to play the victim, the hero, or the villain, right? The triune of life role play, right? That we all do. We all switch those hats and we all have those relationships where we are one of those characters. And so, an abandonment wound, especially from for women and from a masculine standpoint, is often a victim space. It's a victim wound, right? He abandoned me. He didn't love me the way I needed to be loved. God left me. They hate me. They mistreated me, right? That's victim language. That means that you're playing the part of a victim. Doesn't mean that you're wrong. It's just if you want to get out of that situation, if you want to not continue being the victim in the abandonment from the masculine story, then you have to step out of that space. And the only way that you're going to step out of victim space is to start taking some ownership and taking back your power. How do you do that? How do you take back your power when you're navigating these things like that? You're like, okay, Corey, I hear you. I don't want to be a victim anymore. I don't want to continue playing out this drama that the men leave me. I don't want to keep playing that out. What do I fucking do? Well, I don't know. I can share with you what I've been doing, and it's working. I can point you a direction, but I don't think healing work or inner work is ever just like, you know, here, do this 5-step process to heal your abandonment wound. Like, I think that's bullshit. Because it's going to be different for you. It's going to be different for you. It's different for me. It's different for every single one of us. But I can point you in some directions. You have to get curious, though. You've got to kind of explore and be like, well, how do I do this? Right? You've got to put some time and effort into it. It is work. It takes some humbling. You got to let go of your ego a little bit and admit that you've been playing a part in this too, right? So there is work here and you might cry a lot. So just preface that. But the first thing I could say is like, get curious. Start asking questions. Start writing. Start doing meditations like this the child within meditation from Rebecca Campbell, right? She's got all kinds of stuff to explore that. So if you like Rebecca Campbell and you want to start there, then go there. Or maybe there's another influencer or mentor that you really connect with that does parts work or inner child work. I think it's a good place to start. Inner child work, shadow work. Carl Jung, start exploring your shadows. And oftentimes, like exploring your inner child, like it's a great place to start because that's usually where it lives, is inside of you, because those versions of you are still alive inside of you. Like, newsflash, I don't think you realize, like, we're all just basically 8-year-old kids walking around in grown up bodies. I think it's Mel Robbins that says that, which is true. So start looking there. Doing some inner child work, doing some meditating, doing some journaling, if you believe that therapy will be beneficial to you, then sure, go for it. Um, I've kind of taken approach when it comes to navigating these things. I kind of do that on my own. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Sometimes I think there's pluses and minuses to therapy. So I think it's an important piece. Mental health is always important. And also, I think there are some things that you need to explore on your own that can often get you kind of moving in a direction. What else do I feel like would help to heal these wounds? Start to heal the relationship with your body because your body holds so much for you. Your body your body keeps score. All of these feelings that you've not been able to process, whether from you're younger or from the life that you've lived, they're stored in your body. Your body holds on to them in a way that is protective, right? Your body is very protective of you because it wants you to live, it wants you to survive. And if something that you've been through has been traumatic or has been violating or, very emotionally charged, your body's going to take action to kind of protect you from that until you're ready to navigate through it. I think the problem is for a lot of us is we don't ever get to that point. And so our body just keeps taking on more and more and more and storing it and storing it and storing it and keeping it hidden and keeping it away. And then eventually the body breaks down. So getting in right relationship with your body, like exploring movement with your body, learning about your cycles, learning about how your body responds to the care that you give it. Like this kind of work can reveal a massive amount of information for you. It can help you to release some of these things that you've been uh, challenged with, and oftentimes it ends up with bettering your health along the way. It's really fascinating how that works, by the way. Like, for me, when I started healing my relationship with my cycles, it opened up the space for me to start healing the relationship with all of the rest of me. Truly, cyclical living helped me to heal my abandonment wounds, the fears that I have about visibility. I mean, all kinds of things. So I have no doubt, like now that I'm seeing, okay, I have yet another layer to heal with the masculine, the divine masculine, and the masculine within me. I know that cyclical living is going to support that because that's the blueprint of my body. I have a cyclical body. I have a body that cycles. And so I know that my menstrual cycles are going to be very supportive in this. I love that. I wanted this episode to be an awareness episode. I know it's a little long and it was not structured at all. It's just me talking with you because so many of us have gone through experiences that have been very painful and that have been at the hands of the men that we love the most. I know that. And if there's any men that are listening too, then I also invite you to start exploring that relationship as well. It's not, my primary audience is women and so I speak to them a lot, but if you're listening, then I'll speak to you too. Maybe all of these things anger and resentment and bitterness that we have towards authority figures and towards each other and even, the violence towards women and I mean all of it. Like what if it's down this hallway? What if it's down this door, this path of exploring the abandonment that we've experienced from the from the feminine and from the masculine? And how can we start to bring more healing and love and compassion and grace to those parts of ourselves now? Right? We can't change the past. The past has happened, but we can change how we view what happened. We can change how we allow it to impact our lives today. That is within our power. And I believe that if you start navigating this healing and taking that on, that you will start to find peace. You will find and experience love in spaces that you never ever have before. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing, sister or brother. Of course, I can't leave you without a card reading. Guess what? I have cards. We're here. Oh, guess who they're from? Oh, they're from Rebecca Campbell. Y'all. Ah. I hope you enjoy these card readings. I love doing them for you. I love doing them. I mean, I love doing them for myself. It's been, you know, getting into oracle cards has been one of the another tool. It's been another tool in my healing journey. So, and I love getting to share that with you. And I've been hearing lots of you say how much you have been enjoying it as well. This is beautiful. So, the card I have pulled for you today is called Keepers of the Earth. It's a reminder that you are not alone, and ancient ancestors stand beside you. You are not. You have so much support. You have so much support from the ones that have passed on and the ones that are still here. We're in a very challenging time right now, and our ancestors know that. They know that. And they're here to let you know that they've passed on a lot of resilience to you. Think about all of the thousands and thousands of people that had to survive in order for you to be here. They went through harsh winters. They went through plagues and childbirth and war and famine and unspeakable things. And because they survived, because they lived, you get to live. You get to live and be here now at this time right now. And so the ancestors are letting you know that you're not doing this alone. You're not by yourself. You have been given the codes, you have been given the tools, everything you need to thrive and survive and grow in this life is already within you. What I love about this idea of the keepers of the earth, it's like these are the ones who are holding the energy, holding, keeping, right? Keeping safe the qualities, the characteristics that we need in order to continue going on, to continue sharing our light, to continue raising children that are loving, and to continue just being, being a human being. I have a poem that I wrote, and maybe I'll share it with you. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was a line that had come through when I wrote it. It says, "You are not alone. We are all one." Right? It's kind of a little play on words. If you write out the word alone and then you separate it, A-L and then space O-N-E, all one. We are not alone. We are all one. You're not doing this alone. I'm here. Your friends are here. Your mentors are here. There is life within you. Your ancestors stand beside you. The ascended masters are here. The angels, the guardians, the aliens, whatever you want to believe in. It's all here for you. It's all here for you. You're here. You're not alone. And so whenever you feel that abandonment come up and feel that fear of like, oh, they're going to leave me. Oh, it's going to be horrible. Just maybe step out of that space for a moment and realize, wait, that's just a story. And that doesn't have to be true. Even if, even when and if that happens, right? Because people will die, people do leave. But it doesn't mean that we have to experience the wounding of it. It does mean that we have the choice to step out of that space and realize that we are never going to be abandoned because we are all connected. You cannot, what was it that they say in Moana? That the grandma says, there is nowhere you can go that I will not be. So the more we lean into that, the more that we will feel the oneness inside, the more that we will feel the support, the love, everything we've been longing for will be there because it already is. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Appreciate you. I support you. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend. Maybe just like close your eyes and tune in for a moment and ask spirit or ask God or ask whoever you talk to, ask your womb. Say, who can I send this to today? Who would that support? And that first person that comes to your mind, that first face that flashes, just share the episode with them. Say, hey, I listened to this today and I felt guided to share with you. And then whatever they do with it is on them. That's how we support each other. How we let each other know that we're not. I love you, friend. May you be blessed. May you be happy. May you be safe. May the light always shine. Thank you for sitting beside the fire with me today. Even though we can't see each other, I feel honored to have shared sacred space with you. Before you go, take a moment and notice how your body feels. If this reflection offered you something meaningful, pass it along to someone you'd love to sit beside the fire with. We heal in circles, not alone. So until the next show, remember, you are so worthy of your vibrant life. And I'll see you next time.